Hello everyone, welcome to Discussing Tabletop for February 9th, 2019. It is our 102nd episode. Of course, joining me as usual today is Joe.
Yes, I'm here.
you're almost always here.
Yeah,
mostly
for the most
here.
part.
Mostly here.
I'm mostly up here, too.
That's true. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, we got an interesting docket of things today. We've got a couple of Pathfinder releases to talk about. I want to talk about the Tyrant's Grasp Adventure Path because they've come out with the first, the kind of player's guide and the basics of it, and talk about that's going to be the final Pathfinder player's guide. Then I want to talk about Pathfinder Wilderness Origins, which is maybe one of the last kind of smaller books, but we're getting towards the end of the original Pathfinder career, and it's kind of interesting to see what they're putting out with this back end of their product line. Anyway, then I want to move on to more role-playing news with Space 1889, Murder on the Ether Express, because I love Murder on the Orient Express, and hey, we're doing a Space 1889 version of it. And then we got two games by wizkids, Bumunta, and I want to talk about the Expanse doors and corners, just because the Expanse does have a popularity to it. And then finally, before we go into our normal segments of deeper discussion, Kickstarter Korner and Our Week in Tabletop, we'll talk about Battle of the Bards is back up on Kickstarter, and I want to talk about that because we had our guest the other week, who was one of the people working on Battle of the Bards. So I want to give them another shout out because, you know, hey, it's what we do. Anyway.
Yep. So,
let's dive into the Pathfinder stuff. Let's start with that. Oh, that's that one. That one. The Tyrant's Grasp is coming out, and we have the Adventure Path, the Player's Guide PDF for free is up, which is great, and we're a little ahead of when the first book in the series is coming out. So it's basically, we've reached you can start making characters for it. But this is technically the culmination of everything that they've been doing. And it's kind of interesting to see that they're taking another one of their older storylines and adding to it. We saw that with the kind of sequel to Rise of the Rune Lords, which was their previous adventure path that they just finished up. But this one's kind of a sequel to one that both of us are familiar with. This is like a sequel to Carrion Crown.
Right.
It's got the Whispering Tyrant actually getting free, which in the Carrion Crown you prevented that.
Yes. No bueno. We don't want the Whispering Tyrant.
So I guess they have actual stats for him, which it's because now that they have the God, I'm forgetting it. Whatever their version of epic stuff was. I'm forgetting it now because my brain has gone.
It's been a while since we've done Pathfinder.
Yeah, no, and I should remember it, but it's not epic levels. It's something else entirely. But if you're out there and you remember it, good on you and bad on me for forgetting it completely and utterly. Because my brain just died there for a second. Anyway, so this is kind of in preparation in the next couple of weeks when the first adventure comes out, which is supposed to be get you level 5 at the end there too, because 5th level is where the second ones start to get out. So I'm thinking they might get into is it Mythic? I think it was Mythic. They might get into Mythic, or it might be that they're going to go the artifact route, but it kind of sounded like when they talked about the big summary that they might go for we're going to use a powerful artifact to trap them again because it worked before. So yeah, it's it's interesting because it's the start of the entire storyline is there's a cataclysm that happens. And your players are thrust into basically the land of the dead, and they aren't dead. So you're basically trapped in the after, a place of some region of the afterlife, and have to get out. And that's kind of an interesting place to start off a storyline.
Yes.
I'm definitely like. This one definitely interests me a little bit, just because I guess a lot of the Pathfinder adventure paths have interested me, and I just haven't had a chance to do many of them, unfortunately.
Well, it's also cool that they're kind of bringing it back
to another one of their very early adventure paths, because Carrying Crown was like within the first, I think, couple. I don't know how many. I can look that up. The adventure path list quickly and efficiently. It actually was a little bit into it before they came out with that one, strangely enough. Oh. Carrying Crown was the 8th one they did.
Well, it's one of their very memorable ones.
It was. It was their first attempt at horror, I think. It was their big like, first attempt at coming up with, like, a hot horror storyline that they were throwing out there. And I can understand that that might be a place to take it back to because of that. I mean, like, Rise of the Rune Lords has always been a big popular one, and we saw, like, the sequel to that, and it makes sense. Yeah. I think it's like, it was a good storyline, and it was a good attempt at some stuff that drew them into the place where they are now. So,
agreed.
Yeah. But yeah, no. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what happens with it a little bit. You know, it might be one to check out, at least, to look into what the adventures are and see how they go. Just because I did play Carrying Crown. Yeah. We did Carrying Crown. It was fun. So, I do. It definitely interests me because of that. It's the best way to kind of say that.
Right.
I mean, we had a lot of fun time with Carrying Crown, didn't we? I think we did.
Oh, yeah, I think we did.
I think I played through it twice, so... yeah, ran it twice. Anyway, so yeah, Tyrant's Grasp, the player's guide, the PDF is free now, so you can get it, the PDF of it, and check out a little bit of information about what's coming on for their final adventure path in the original Pathfinder before 2nd edition takes over. But let's talk about the other release that Pathfinder has had, Wilderness Origins. Now, it's another one of their, like, smaller, not like soft cover books, which they do a lot of those, and they're usually like little bits of information, very much more specific things. But still, I'm like, at this point in time, we're what, maybe like 6 months at most out from Pathfinder 2.0's release, which I think they were saying the release of the last one of Tyrant's Gasp is going to be like coinciding with the release of the first of the adventure paths of Pathfinder 2.0. It should be right there next to each other, so one leads off to the next.
Right.
And it's interesting that they're still putting out stuff at this point in time.
Yeah, you'd think it would have, wrapped up already, but
yeah.
The thing is, I think there's a lot of people who really like regular Pathfinder, original Pathfinder, and are probably going to play it even after, they start doing 2.0. So, I guess they're kind of making sure they have plenty of material to play along for a little while longer.
Yeah, it's like if we put a couple smaller books like this out over the next couple of months, it'll keep people going for X amount of more years. It's just more options, again, is what it is.
Right.
It's like new options for like witches, summoners, spiritualists, racial traits and feats and archetypes for a bunch of really unusual races that you don't see a lot, like the Vine Leshy. I remember hearing you could play one of those things, but it's like a really? You have options for it then?
Right.
Yeah, which is not necessarily a bad thing, having these options. It's just it's that weird point of like Pathfinder's on its way out, and we're still seeing like books like this coming out. I don't know. It's interesting how Paizo's doing the back end of their cycle here.
Yeah,
I feel like I feel like they're not letting it kind of... Oh, I can switch over the image.
Letting it go?
Yeah. Oh, there. It switched over perfectly.
Let it go.
Yeah. They're not letting it go in any kind of actual respectable terms. They're just letting it kind of exist, and then they're just switching it over. But it actually might not be a bad thing either. Like, I feel like, you know, D&D, when it would move on to a new edition, it would kind of just let the old ones die out.
Yeah.
And not support it for a while and then work on something. While Pathfinder's giving support for their previous one up until when they're switching over. Which I don't know, that's going to be a question whether this is like a really good thing or a really bad thing for how the switchover goes and how the systems are. I don't know. I feel like this is very different than most edition changes. Because, like, if I think about it, like, Shadowrun, World of Darkness stuff, they just, at some point in time, you know, switch kind of things. You know, they don't have as many products in the back end before they throw it out. But this one, it does.
Yeah. No, I think they're handling it well. It's going one right into the other, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, they're transitioning.
They're not just they're not just abandoning it.
Yes, that's true. Which might be a little bit better thing in a way. But it's a very interesting and questionable thing about how well this will kind of gel together in the end. And will this be a better example for other role-playing game systems to, like, maybe look to having a second or a new edition before the life cycle of their game, their one version runs out, before it, you know, on the back end of it, though.
Right. And, I mean, they're probably making decent money off of this stuff, too, instead of just going, we're going to forgo anything else for this system and focus solely on the new one.
I'm assuming a lot of their books do well as they keep making them. That's the thing is, like, I'm always surprised at how many books Pathfinder puts out, and they have to be doing well for them to continue to be put out like this.
Right.
Paizo has to be doing quite well, and it's just... It's sometimes a surprise, just because there's so many of them. But anyway, I mean,
the Wilderness Origin sounds cool, especially that you can channel the fury of a dragon.
No. I can only remember a little bit about the Shifter class because I think it's one of those. It's like, it's one of those that's been on the back end of it, and it's been sort of the back end where we've kind of moved away from playing a lot of Pathfinder. Yeah. So it's sort of like I remember hearing about it, but I have never had much experience with it because it's on that...
Well, it sounds basically like a druid's ability to wild shape.
I think it's like, yeah, it's pushing it forward. But
it's its own class.
I think it's also like you don't fully shift. It's more like you shift aspects of yourself kind of thing.
Right.
So it's all about, you know, like, oh, I take on, like, you know, beast claws and stuff like that and things like that. Or maybe I grow wings temporarily or get webbed hands in order to do certain things. And now it's like, oh, now I'm shifting and using powers of dragons and fae, too.
Now I breathe fire on your ass.
Enjoy. Yeah.
Or force breath.
Only in not this edition.
Yes, I know. Come on, everyone loves a good force dragon.
No.
Especially when it's combined with a mirror person.
Yeah, no.
That was one of my most broken characters I ever made.
Okay, yeah. Look, there's a lot of weird broken things you can do in a lot of systems, so that's all I can say.
Oh, I know. Anyway.
So let's move on though, because you know Pathfinder is great to talk about, but we have other things to talk about. Does that arrange it? It almost does. Let's readjust it then. We're going to talk about a little bit about Space 1889. I like talking about Space 1889. It's always been like this interesting system because it's what, like sci-fi Victorian age, I believe we've described it as in the past. And I have to say, Murder in the Orient Express is one of my favorites of Agatha Christie. Oh my god, it blanked out. My brain has been so bad today. I tried to blank out on Agatha Christie. So, it's basically, it's steampunk, sci-fi, Victorian age, and you're on, like, I guess, what would be referred to as, like, I guess it's not really a space train, it's more like a space... It is a space ship. Maybe a space cruise line or something.
Oh god, what is this, Fifth Element?
Yes, except it's more on the Orient Express and Fifth Element, I guess. So your adventurers have been lucky enough to secure passage on this ship's shakedown cruise, where the vessel's going to be put through its places, and there's like a wealthy aristocrat has commandeered a lot of the ship for one of his like famous parties, and like a lot of like fortunes lost and gained there, and all these kind of stuff going on, and they have to kind of like navigate the aristocrats and the elites, and maybe deal with murder most foul.
What if it's not foul?
I don't know. You would say murder's most foul, but if it's not foul, I don't know what it is then. I mean, if it's not chicken, what's it taste like?
Fish.
Murder most ichthyous.
Aquatic.
I was going to say ichthyous. Yes. It's quite fishy. Oh. Alright, that was a bad one. So it is supposed to be for veteran players and game masters, and it's an adventure. And, I mean... I like the idea of it a lot, just because, again, it's...
Yeah, I mean... Space 1889 seems like a great system in general.
Yeah.
And, Murder on the Ether Express, it fits in that genre very nicely.
Yeah, it's taking... And the thing is, they're taking, like, a core concept of some kind of novel and putting it together in a way that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot. That's what I have to say.
I completely agree.
Yeah. I think Space 1889 is definitely one of the ones that I would be like interested in checking out, and especially after we check it out and try things out with it. Maybe even dive into like a deeper use of it, definitely, right. Just because of the nature of it.
Nah, and this sounds really interesting. Who doesn't love a good murder mystery?
I know. The thing is, they like every time I see one of their little like adventure books and you read up on it, and it's like these are very interesting. They come up with a lot of really cool ideas that are taking a lot of like the Victorian age books, stuff like stuff. This is like Agatha Christie. They've taken stuff by like Jules Verne and like all this other stuff and making like almost like weird versions of these things and taking the interesting setting they've made of this like exploring and colonizing planets and having them very, very weird and different than we thought,
Right.
And it's definitely been really cool to like look at what they've been doing, and this is another great addition, I think. So and the thing is, you can get now $6 for the PDF, which isn't bad, or $11 if you want to get the adventure book. So it's a decent price. It's probably going to be like one of the like soft cover adventure books you get for a lot of role playing game systems, at least in the olden days. You don't get that so much for like D&D anymore, but Pathfinder still does it, so good on them.
Right.
Though D&D gives us epic campaigns instead, so. It's out now. It's pretty cool. I'd recommend checking it out, definitely. Anything else you want to add on this one?
No, just looks really cool, and I'd try it out.
Yeah, I definitely would too. So why don't we move on though, and let's talk about the next topic. We're hitting through these very quickly though.
Yes. Well, I think we have a lot of small ones. Is the problem.
Probably this week. Well, This week has been very light. I mean, I could add in, like, if we're talking about Mondifius here, I could sort of add in, like, a bonus thing that they finally announced a bunch of their Star Trek books that are coming out. And I'm talking, like,
Sorry.
And it's the, like, core books of the Star Trek stuff. Not, like, you know... Cool. So it's like they're putting out their, like, I think, Science Division book, their Alpha Quadrant book, and another, like, I think before they put out like a compilation of, like, missions, and they're doing another one of those, which is like 10 missions that you can use.
Cool.
Yeah, so those are all really cool things that they're doing. So I think, like, I had gotten the Star Trek Adventures RPG book just recently, and I'm hoping that maybe on my list of games to start up, that will be one of them, rather than just, like, testing it out, because it's very much interested me, and I've been watching a lot of Star Trek. Because not only have I been watching Enterprise, but I did start the original series again, too.
What about the cartoon?
That isn't on the channel. I went through all of Next Gen, and I'm actually waiting until it resets back, and I'm probably going to watch through all of Voyager and Deep Space Nine again, because it's doing all of them. And Voyager's somewhere in the 5th season on that channel, and Deep Space Nine just hit the 5th season. So in, like, a couple of weeks, I'll start those two again, and so I'll be watching 4 Star Trek series, and I'll be so Star Trek'd out that I'll want for all run a Star Trek game. But anyway.
Yeah.
That's the perfect response. Yeah.
I love Star Trek, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I've seen all of it, all the series multiple times.
Including the animated?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You've seen it all on Netflix. I keep forgetting that's there.
Yeah, so there's only one series I haven't seen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the new one.
Oh, Discovery?
I've only seen the first 2 episodes of it and was not very happy with it.
I think went through the first half of the season, and I didn't finish the second half of the season. And I guess they have a new season on now, which is supposed to be better, but it's sort of like they've suffered through a lot.
Well, let's see. There's the lawsuit that's going on.
Oh.
There's a point-and-click adventure game that came out years ago.
Yeah.
That they apparently ripped off some of the stuff from.
Oh.
Like the drive that it was the big thing in the first season that had the what the hell are those creatures?
Tardigrade or something? Yeah.
Yeah. There was a point and click game that had the engines that were powered by giant space tardigrades. And apparently also, like, the main character, Michael Burnham, kind of looks like the character from that game as well, and so does another character. So yeah, there's a lawsuit for that.
Wow.
They've had nothing but problems with this one, and as far as I'm concerned, the Orville is what we should have got as a Star Trek show. And I've been enjoying that one immensely.
Yeah, no, I agree. That one is a very good.
And they've done a good job of balancing it, not just being a comedy, but they hit some seriousness as well. And that's the thing is, even Star Trek had its funny moments. Yeah. This one's like a little more towards the comedy than most Star Trek is, but it still follows that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Where the new one seems just way too dark, and it's Star Trek's always been not one person centric, which is what they did with this one.
Instead of like you could say that it's maybe a couple people centric too. Like like the first original series is definitely
where you focus.
Well, even like the original series, I'd say it's definitely Spock, McCoy, Kirk. It's like those three, and then like you have your main cast, which have their highlights. But those three are sort of like the core of it at that point in time.
I'd almost put Scotty in there.
Well, like the first episode, I just watched through it. Because I started on original generation today, and Scotty wasn't in it at all.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I think out of the rest of the bridge crew, he's the next.
Yeah, Yeah, the thing is, I think, like, they they'll expand more as the episodes go on anyway, you know.
Yeah.
But I feel like, yeah, you have a lot more focus on a lot more people as they go into the other episodes. Like, you have episodes that I can say, like, this character is focused on it, this character's focused on it, and each of them have their own turns, almost, you know?
Yeah. I think the ones who got the least amount out of all of them would have been Sulu, and the one who got it the worst was Chekhov. I think he was given the least amount of development.
But I'm saying, like, you know, when you go into then other Star Treks, they do definitely have a lot more of the focus kind of spread out kind of thing, I think, you know.
Yeah, and now they went to, we're going to focus on this one character mainly.
Yeah.
And they started off with her betraying her captain. I'm like, as soon as that happened, I'm like, you just lost me. Why am I going to root for the main character who does that?
I think she did it for a, in quotation, good reason-ish. Not like a great reason, but like a reason that wasn't necessarily a bad one. But it was still...
yes. She thought she was doing the right thing, kind of, but it still is like... And then also, the first two, you know, the main first two episodes, or one big pilot, however you want to put it.
Yeah.
Because they broke it up, you know, on live and streaming.
Yeah.
90% of the crew doesn't come back.
No, they're very bad with that kind of thing. But
so it's just like,
yeah.
Yeah. And the Klingons. Sorry, Klingons. Those aren't Klingons.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some weird alien. Anyway, yes. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I have a tangent when it comes to Star Trek. So.
It's fine. Let's move on, though, now that we have a couple more topics here, though.
Yes.
That should mostly... it's good enough. I could adjust the screen more, but... Bumunta! That's... is available from WizKids Game. Like, it's basically like out in forest, animals know secret of long life, shamans are looking for this knowledge, but heading out to the woods in search of the animals to gain their wisdom, basically. So you take the role of tribal leaders as you journey through the Congolese jungle, seeking the favor of animals that will guide you to that long and healthy life, navigating the board and collecting animals' favor. It's got randomly assigned setup and very easy mechanics. Well, that's what they claim anyway. It's a game.
I think you should totally be the flamingo.
But you're not. You're not actually the flamingo. Okay, but
anyway. I know. I'm just looking at the different animals.
Well, they do have the rules available, which is good. I mean, that's one of those things that we always like comment, that they're very good with it. And it's only 8 pages of rules, including a title page, so it's not a difficult game to learn.
They definitely have an array of animals. Everything from lions to tarantulas to black mambas.
80 animal tokens. So there's a lot of choice in your animals that you can try to gain favor from as you move around. I think it's very interesting that, like... would I best describe that WizKids has been doing very, like, global-themed games? You know?
Stuff that you really don't... that isn't really as much language dependent.
That's true. Language dependent is one thing, but also I feel like they've been taking on, like... Even if it's just influence from it, influence from a lot more cultures.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And definitely, like, that's been an interesting thing that that you kind of almost notice now. Which is not necessarily a bad thing, because it is a basic introductory to a little bit of other cultures, too, that people might not encounter. And this is, like, very simple, and it really doesn't get into huge things. But this is, like, a hinting at, like, African culture a little bit, too. You know, it's not, like, a huge thing, but it's taking influence from it. Just as they did, like, one of the ones that they did recently was very Pacific Islanding, I would call it, you know? and taking some influence from that. It's granted, it's not really gonna teach you anything super great, you know. As they say, they actually do say in the game, it's based on the Congo culture of Central Africa. Yeah. I'm actually kind of interested that they've been doing this a little bit, taking like a little bit more of a global culture influence. That they're taking a little bit more of ones that probably don't get as much influence nowadays as you'd think. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't see a lot of stuff like this in board games. Because most of them tend to be very licensed or, you know, very like fantasy, sci-fi driven. You know, this one is... I think it's interesting what they're doing, I guess.
Gotcha. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, it definitely is.
Yeah. So it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 animals. So it's giraffe, zebra, chimpanzee, flamingo, tarantula, lion, crocodile, black mamba, elephant, rhino.
Yep. And
each of them, when you gain favor from it, does something to you. Basically gives you like a movement way, or like it changes directions and stuff like that, which is very interesting. Cool. So, yep. And I guess it's 16 advancement tile has been picked up, then the game ends. 2 to 5 players.
Yep. And let's see, does it say time? About 30 minutes.
Yeah, 30 minutes, so not bad. Give it like 45 an hour for first time playing, as usual, for learning.
Yeah.
Sad little girl.
And it's 10 plus, so you know.
Yeah.
It's a good family game.
$40 for it. It has a lot of stuff to it, though, if you like look at it, a lot of little tokens and things, so it's a pretty decent game for its price.
Yeah. But, and the tiles look like they're well made.
Yes, that's true. They have very, very cool looking art on it. So, Bumunta is available now from WizKids. You can get it directly from them, or you can check out your local game store.
Aye, Captain.
All right, let's talk about the last one I had on the topic for today. A expansion to one that I think we talked about it a long time ago. The Expanse board game was one of the ones on our topic.
Yeah, I think we had talked about it at one point.
And I think we talked about it because it is, like, you know, popular. And I think it's still relatively popular. I'm not sure if it's as much as it was. But anyway, it's a new expansion by, again, WizKids, because they put out the original. It's Doors and Corners. It's their first expansion of the one. 5 modules that can be used as part of the game for expanding your options, which you can use any number of them, is the thing. So that's an interesting thing about this expansion. It is 5 expansions in one. You get 5 basically optional things you can add into your game to add a new level to it, and which ones you take is completely up to you. And I think that's the real reason that this is the kind of like the core of why I kind of wanted to talk about this when I was looking up on it. Because I like when a board game does these things too. It's like, there are some companies that what they would do with these would put out 5 mini expansions.
Right.
And sell them individually. But I much more prefer it when they don't do that. Because I feel like that's very much reaming you for money. And it's like, I have 5 mini expansions. I can't really sell them on my own. Let's throw them all together and put them out there for you.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, I'd rather have one nice expansion than, you know, being nickel and dime for each little thing.
Oh, yeah. No. We're looking at you sometimes, Steve Jackson's games. They're not they're that's a different entire thing. But no, I think like there are some others that would do something like that. But no, and I like the idea that you can mix and match things from an expansion. It's sort of like, I always liked the pandemic expansion, the first one where you could have like a virulent strain or a mutation strain of viruses also on the board, where those two were options you could throw in. And then there had like a separate game mode which you could play with that also. So there was like these 3 components to the expansion that you could choose which ones to use, or none of them. And this is the same way, where this has got 5 different things.
Right.
It's got leaders, new tech, resource tokens, proto-molecule and variable setup. Yeah, so each of those things provides different stuff to your game that make changes to the way that you play the Expanse board game. And you can use any combination of them. Like maybe the variable setup doesn't seem like to work for whatever you're doing, and you just want to use the leaders. Or maybe you want to use both together. And I think that's definitely one of the cool aspects of this one that I definitely would be. And if you've got the Expanse board game, this is definitely a great one to check out because it can make an infinite extra use in your game. You know, it expands it quite a lot. What you can do. And I think that's one of those great things about like when you get to some board games like this is that it gives you that variety. So it's not that it's not fun to play over and over again, but sometimes you'd be like, well, we've kind of done the same thing over and over. Went a little different.
Right.
Cool. But that's... I haven't even switched over to it. There you go. Hey. On the board. Ah. I mean, that's accurate. The Price is Right failure music. Yeah.
It's okay. It's just a little. It's just a little burn. We're still good.
So they're saying with the expansion, you need the base game to play. It puts it up to 60 minutes, and it's 2 to 4 players. They have the rules for the expansion onto it. It's actually downloadable. So specifically, if you wanted to check out and get an idea of what to play with the Doors and Corners expansion book, you can check it out. It splits all the modules up that are different pages, you know, so each one will tell you what it does a little bit.
Right.
It's like they're simple expansions too, so they're not like major ones, but each one does alter your game, as I said. So anyway, all right, let's move on to the last one, which I actually forgot to...
Battle of the Bards.
Get that easily viewable. Bye, Google. Let me get rid of that first. So, Battle of the Bards. We were talking with one of the folks behind Battle of the Bards a couple weeks ago, last time we had our show. And he was saying how they were going to be putting out the Kickstarter once again up for folks to get support on, and hey, they are back up on Kickstarter with a whole new set of goals and other some such stuff. God, I'm sometimes bad at multitasking as I try to quickly look this up while speaking, and brain no work good well. There it is. Okay.
Brain no work well.
And so yes, Battle of the Bards. It's back up. We did talk to him a lot about Battle of the Bards and a lot of the products they did.
I think if I remember correctly, the reason they did that was they got a better deal.
Yes.
And they had to switch some stuff out because of that.
They got a better deal for their what's the best way to describe this? Their printing.
Yes.
They got a surprisingly good deal for printing. They were not expecting such a great deal for printing, basically, is what happened. They had a printer, and then effectively this other printer was would you say courting them?
I guess. I think they looked into them, but they thought they were going to be more, and they misunderstood a quote or something. But
it
turned out a lot better for them.
Well, it's like they didn't provide a lot of information. They provided some very old information about what they wanted to, and they had ideas about changing the game that would have made it more expensive from the old support. And so when then they went to get the quote, they were like, "Oh, okay, we're they saw it and they're like, this is a pretty cheap quote. They probably are using this old information we provided to them." And they come back to it. They're like, "No, we can do it." That's true. So they're already funded again, which is great. They have 18 days to go. They have tripled their goal. So good, more power to them. They were, it was great to have. I
can't remember his name either.
David and Junk Spirit Games. God, yeah, my brain has been a little like. David was great to have on. It was fun to have him. He talked about a lot of these cool things, and it looks like they have a lot of great stuff in here because now they can. They have a much higher quality than they were going to plan it. For $10 you get the print and play version. For $29 you get a full copy of it. $39 gets you the first card expansion and the actual real guitar pick tokens. And and for $59 you get the personal playmats and an enamel pin also. And they got some add-ons, and they got some stretch goals, which they have unlocked a whole bunch of them. They have a couple left, but they've gotten upgraded them. If they get to 44,000, which they're not far from, they're upgrade box thickness. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is one of those things. Is the thicker the box is, the longer it stays in good shape.
Yeah.
So that actually is a very interesting thing. And it's extra things for better card stock, all this other kind of extra things that they've been putting together for having all the stretch goals. And as I said, they've been doing a lot of them. So, Junk Spirit, you guys are great, and I'm glad that you've got your Kickstarter back up successfully, and I'm glad it got funded again. That's one of those things is they were started and took it down, and you have to worry about it, killing it at that point.
Right.
But fortunately,
because people are going, oh, well, what the heck's going on with these guys?
Yeah. Granted, they sent out a message of we're relaunching or something, which that has a
right. But it still makes it. You still feel a little suspicious. What's going on? Is this, Yeah. That's all. I mean, not that they did anything shady. It's just
no.
Because of some Kickstarters in the past that have done questionable things.
Oh, no. There are definitely plenty of Kickstarters out there that have done questionable things and have had problems and have this legacy of having problems that, people are reluctant. Yeah, reluctant is a great way of describing it. Reluctant about a little reluctant on trust.
Yeah.
So. But fortunately, no. It looks like they're back, and we had a great conversation with him, and I'm glad he came on the show and talked with us. So check it out if you are interested. Definitely, I would recommend taking a look at it, as Battle of the Bards is back up on Kickstarter. You got anything else on your end?
No, I think it looked like an amazing game. I would definitely check them out, and if you had the money, go for it. It looks like they're going to do a great job with this one.
Indeed. I agree wholeheartedly. So, let's move on to our regular segments, because we got a couple of them here. And let's start, of course, with deeper discussion, because we do have one game that we did have a chance to check out a couple of weeks ago. Well, we played some new stuff last week, but, I don't think we've hit, review-ness on that one.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've only gotten one. It was one of the D&D games, and we only got one module in, so
yeah, and it looks like that one needs a little bit more to get to the depths of it. But it's
we'll talk about it in a little bit on what we did. So.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that more there, because that one it's a game that we've played before anyway, a type of game. But no, I was fortunate to get a review copy of Alicematic Heroes by Japanime Games. So this is a game where you take the role of there was this kind of horrible what do you call it, apocalyptic, something bad happened in Wonderland. And so they were required to summon Alice to save the day. And unfortunately, though, it resulted in being summoning a billion Alices of different kinds. The day was saved, But now you have to rebuild Wonderland, and since you take on the role of the March Hare, the Mad Hatter, the Queen of Hearts, the Cheshire Cat, and I'm forgetting one of them because I think it does go to 5 players.
There was
Humpty Dumpty.
For some reason, there was Humpty Dumpty.
Yes. Anyway, so you take on the role of one of those 5 of them, and you create basically a group of Alices to rebuild the kingdom and the cities. And it's a very interesting game. It starts out, you kind of set up a random board out of these tiles. The number of tiles you lay down depends on the number of players. And gaining control, each city has a number of players that can get control of it, can have influence in it. So, like, you can have 1 to 6 player, or 1 to 3 players in each of these cities, which are the core of it. Cities are used to protect your influence, where you put it. It's hard to invade anywhere that's next to it. It is. So then you take turns. Everybody kind of plays out Alices from their hand. And it's hard to get cards in your hand, and you have to kind of strategize for keeping up that, because if you don't have any cards in your hand, you skip a turn and draw. But there's ways of, like, playing cards and maybe replacing them, or if you get blue influence, you get stuff there. And it's a very resource management game, I call it. You have effectively 5 resources, which are based on the number of Alices you put there. You can also put commoners there, which are flipping over an Alice card, which you get no special abilities for. So, and counts, so you have, like, your recruitment resource, you have your military resource, which are used to do invasion, you have your range, which tells you how far from a city you can invade, and then you have 2 special resources, which is card draw and victory points, because the point is to have victory points. But those 2 you specifically gain for invading special spots, which doesn't sound great, but it definitely was a heavy thing. Invading a spot, like, later on, after you've built up a lot of the white ability, meant you could get a lot of victory points very quickly. Because it's like having influence in different tiles. Every tile that you had influence got you points. Invading cities got you points. So it's like there's this very balancing. And again, because it's like X number of turns, I think it was like 14, if I'm remembering correctly. I would have to grab the rules and I'm not going to break them out right now.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top. I think it was like 14 or 16, something like that. Might have been 15.
Yes, because you couldn't max out all of them. Because you could get to 5 is the most you could have in any of the. Was 5 or 4?
4, unless you got something special.
Which I had it in my hand, yes.
Do that.
So you could have 4 in any of the 1 sections. And the thing is, like, it's recruitment. You can recruit things for 0 very easily. Or just place commoners to begin with. Which it doesn't sound like placing commoners makes a difference, especially there's little ways to gain points for having more Alices and the special abilities you need. So placing down 0s very early on, or having like a yellow 0, is really good, because then you can start out getting yellows and get those numbers up there very quickly, which is like the first core aspect of it, and it's balancing all of it out. I think, like, you hit a lot of military, which actually helped you a lot, because you got spread very easily. And getting yourselves into a bunch of the cities and other tiles was great for you.
Yeah, that strategy ended up paying off very well for me, but it was still a close game overall that we had.
No, it wasn't a bad game. And, like, I think there's certain strategies that it's like some of the other games we've done. We didn't do a couple little things here correctly, for the first time playing. So if you do them right, it fixes things a little bit, and it's one of those kind of things,
Right.
It was like, and so no, I had a lot of fun time with it. It's interesting little art here. It's definitely got a very heavy anime influence with the art for it, and I feel like the storyline could be bonkers enough to be an anime anyway. I mean, that's any good anime has a level of bonkersness to it.
Yeah,
as someone who watches a lot of anime, but
yeah, it was a very fun game. I would play that again as well and enjoy it.
I feel like definitely we could use a couple more players. We played it with 3 players, but like 4 or 5 would probably be better. Maybe 4 at least. I'm not sure about like when you hit the 5, because it's 3 to 5 players. You really need 3 at minimum, but like the amount of them, I don't know how much is the true
Sweet Spot.
Yeah, Sweet Spot. There you go. So yeah. And the game itself wasn't particularly difficult to pick up, I think, once you really got it. It requires some strategy, a little bit of it, and kind of getting an idea. And you do have, like, a limited number of tokens you can actually place, too. So, like, when you're, like, taking over areas, you're kind of limited in it to a degree. And does have, like, this entire, like, dual turn process. So each turn you take... we summon Alices and have their card effects, and then we invade places. And it's all about that mobility and military power to gain your token on a place and control of it. And you can even take 2 turns to partially invade something, which sounds good, but it slows you down, and slowing you down is bad. And then it's also like the entire Mystic Forest.
Well, that's also like when you have to worry about if you're going to play if you have to play an Alice as a actual Alice or play an Alice as a commoner.
Yeah, because it's also like, do I need more blue or white, or, you know, what do I need right now that I can play out? I could play this Alice, but it takes up a space. Maybe it's good in the long term, maybe it's not. It's what I drew, also. I think...
But then the problem comes, too, is sometimes with those bonus points, which we saw can matter greatly.
Oh, yeah.
You almost pulled it out.
Oh yeah, with little bonuses and stuff too from the white
because of having those having more face-up Alices and not having to have as many face down.
Oh yeah, no, that was a good thing that I kind of like went for early because I had them, but it wasn't a bad strategy, but it maybe wasn't the best strategy too. So it was like an interesting trade-off that way.
Yeah,
yeah, no. It's definitely a very interesting strategy game, and I will definitely play more of it, but I would kind of recommend checking it out for yourself. If you like some strategy and resource management, I'll call it. Because again, it is a resource. It's just a different kind of resource than you think about. It's a numbers resource that they're trying to balance out. It's what do I want to place something into? What do I need now? Do I need my blue, my green, my red, or my white? And all of them have like an equally good reason to have them, definitely.
Yeah.
So... yeah. So Alicematic Heroes, we had a good chance to play with it and kind of dive deep into it. We will definitely play more of it, and I would recommend this game. It was a very fun one. This was definitely one that was recommended to me by the person that sent me the copy. So they were like, I was like, fine, give me a good suggestion. They're like, I like Alicematic Heroes a lot. And you know what? They were correct. It was really good.
Yes. It was very, very well good.
Yeah. So, glowing recommendation on that one. Anyway, I think that's all the information about it that we can kind of go on. Yeah. We went over the time, right? Like 60 minutes. It took us a little longer, but again, it's the first time to play, and it always kind of takes you longer to play that time. So, yes. And, yeah, and they have like a couple little FAQs about it in the back of the rules, and if you want to check out the rules yourself, they do have a copy of them up on the Japanime Games store side. They do have that copy of the rule book, how to play guides, and some other various people that have reviewed it if you want to check out their reviews too. But we're kind of keeping a very simple and kind of like supportive review here too that we like to do.
Yeah.
We have an entire show
nice
to do.
People.
Hey, we're an entire show too, so I can't I like dedicating a good chunk of time to this, to reviewing these things and giving a good shout out. But we can't spend all the time now, can we?
No.
Anyway. Alright, so Alicematic Heroes, that's the one we got to test out, review, take a look at, learn about, and throw it out there. So, cool. Definitely one that we can highly recommend on our end. It was very fun and great. Let's move on, though, because we still have some more to do with our Kickstarter Korner. So, Joseph, my good man, do you have a Kickstarter this week for us to check out?
Maybe I do.
You do? Okay, excellent. Excellent.
Give me 1 second here.
Oh yes, throw out some links and stuff in chat. Chat.
So actually, I have one shout out one because it just looked cool.
Okay.
And one that I'm actually going to
talk about.
So the shout out one is Krakens and Cannons. It's epic ship battle maps for roleplay. They just look awesome. And it's, has Krakens that are awesome looking. But they have islands and everything. They even have a 3D ship model.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's just like, there's a lot of cool stuff. They are... They are already past their goal. Their goal was 2,265. They're at 4,318.
Cool.
And there's still 18 days to go.
Neat.
So, shout out to them. And then I found this one, Monster in the Woods.
Ooh. So
they are also met goal. Barely. They're at $9.98 out of a $750 goal.
Okay.
They still have 17 days left. It's a competitive card game that uses 4x4 face-down grid mechanic in a world filled with monsters.
Ooh.
2 to 5 players plus, and 10 to 15 minutes to play. Kid-friendly. Deck consists...
Was it kid-tested, mother-approved?
I don't know about that.
I'm sorry, that's Tricks.
Yes.
Or Kicks, or one of those.
Kicks. It's Kicks.
Damn it, I was
not Tricks.
Damn it! I almost made the joke correctly.
Tricks are for kids, or not for... Yeah.
Not for silly rabbits?
Silly rabbit. Tricks are for kids, yes.
Yes, exactly. There we go.
There's one deck that consists of 31 playable cards, and there are 9 different card types. 6 plus players requires additional deck. Okay, that's why it says 2 to 5 plus. So if you have more than one deck, you can have more players.
Okay. Neat.
It looks like a little kind of like interesting story card game. Gameplay consists of searching for the winning combination of cards and manipulating the movement of objects. Action cards will allow you to look at another player's hand, skip another player's turn, or steal blind card from another player. Event cards force other players to give up objects and reshuffle cards. So it looks like there's an interesting mechanic to it. It seems simple, but interesting at the same time.
Cool.
So there's a little shout out to this one, and like I said, they made goal, but if this is something that you're interested in, they do have stretch goals that they can still unlock. Let's see, I think right now there's premium tuck box if they get to a 1.5 thousand, and if they get to 5,000, an alternate art mom card.
Okay, cool. Yes. I also have one that I kind of want to shout out a little bit, just because it's very weird, and unless I dive deeper into it, I'm not going to understand this enough. It's the RPG Cats and Cats. It is funded by a bunch, but they describe it as... The people that wrote about this describe it as experimental and mostly unplayable. They warned you up ahead of time. This will have problems. It's designed for 0 to 12 players. It takes 0 to 8 hours to play.
Wait. 0 to 12 players.
Yes.
So does that mean it plays itself?
Yeah.
This sounds like we didn't play this at all.
And for $1, you can get on it. $1 gives you the PDF. Just like the most simple things. A print and fold version of a D6 also, apparently.
Did you just say a print and fold version of
I do. And the weird thing is, there's also a $3 one where they literally say, it's the same reward as the last one, but if you don't feel bad enough, you can pay us $3 instead of $1, basically.
Wow.
It gets into really crazy crap. Yeah, no. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. And they actually, no, and if you get $8, you get the actual dice and a paper copy of the book. Which the book is, they tell you, the book is very small. it's, I don't understand this game. People are supporting it. It's cats and cats. Anyway, yes, that's an insanity that exists, that if you want to dive into that yourself, go ahead. Yeah. But the one I really wanted to shout out was really cool looking, which has reached twice its funding, is Reach of Titans. It's an RPG that basically, if you played Shadow of the Colossus, it's Shadow of the Colossus, the RPG. It's all about going out into a fantasy world and fighting titanic creatures. So, yeah. I mean, it's more than that, but, you know, that's the basics of it. So they've reached nearly 3 times the funding. Let me get a link in chat. For those of you who are watching with us in chat, it'll be in the description below, if not. So effectively, they do talk about Shadow Colossus, Monster Hunter, the Attack on Titan anime. That it's supposed to be, like, their battles are designed to be half puzzle, half combat, where it's more than just your die rolls to bring down these giant behemoths. You're challenged and kind of like figuring out what the weak points of these things are that might be the way you can take it down. Kind of throwing a gear in like the traditional role-playing experience where you might just be like stab, 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 it dies. Right. They've been working on it for a while. They're using a very unique system. The book itself is, depending on the stretch goals, 300 to 400 pages. Full-size hardcover book.
Nice.
I know, yeah. For $25, you can get the PDF version. Not bad. $25 also would give you a different goal. They have a Roll20 version of it. Their PDFs through Roll20. So they are doing a Roll20. They've actually integrated with that already, which is great. I'd say it's a very great one. For $40, you get both of those. And $60 gives you the PDF and a hardcover, which is not a bad price for like a 300 to 400 page book. $80 gives you the PDFs for both. Yeah, $80 gives you the PDFs for both the normal PDF and the Roll20 version and the hardcover. So there's a lot of options for those there. It is its own unique mechanical system that's been designed over a number of years there that does consider each of the body parts of the Titans you're fighting themselves, that each have their own stats, healths, and abilities. Each of those body parts have their own stats, healths, and abilities that you kind of have to comment. So maybe like attacking an arm might be something different than attacking like the head. And depending on the creature you're fighting, that makes a difference, which is a very interesting mechanic thing too. There are other modes of play, like they have the basics of Titan hunting, Titan killing. They have settlement rules, so that like dealing with small villages and stuff. Their own lore that they're putting together. They've done a playtest that you can actually check out their playtest version, which is the non-complete version, which is free. The playtest version of information.
Nice.
So you can check that out on Drive-Thru RPG, which is also kind of great. Yeah. Sorry. I talked about the Roll20 stretch goals. They have funded a bunch of stretch goals. The thing about these stretch goals is they have 14 people that they have that would be creating unique Titans. Basically 14 designers that would each create their own Titans. And effectively what they're doing is, each time you hit a stretch goal, another one of these people designs a Titan.
Nice.
Yeah. They basically just provide, like... The thing is, they don't provide you a lot of information about it, which is an interesting aspect of this entire thing. They're like, we have this list of 14 contributing writers. So these are writers that are putting together this entire thing about this, that makes each Titan encounter unique. And so far they've hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. So they've gotten about halfway done of them. So about and they do talk about a lot of these people a little bit. They give a little. Third one was a writer for Dungeons & Dragons, the World Builders blog and stuff like that. And these people definitely have some pedigree, a little bit of pedigree behind them, so you can look them up and learn information about them, which is great too. So it's very cool.
Yeah.
Yep. No, definitely. They're very close to the 30,000 one. They'll probably get. They got 19 days to go. I predict that they're going to get a bunch more of them. I don't know if they're going to get all of them. That's a question always, whether they get up to that 50,000 for all of the ones they were planning, and what they might plan after that if they kept going. But at least a bunch more of them they're going to get. So, Reach of the Titans. Definitely one to check out. Yeah, it's very cool. All right, that is it for our Kickstarter Korner. Let's move on to a different one with, of course, our Week in Tabletop. I cough and die. I have a single drop of water left in my water glass, so that's great. We're close to being done, so that's fine. I probably won't die. Let's talk about our Week in Tabletop. Hey, you and me, Joe, what did we all do? We did Alicematic Heroes, we talked about that, and then we did 2 Sundays at the tabletop, of course.
Yep.
We had, this week was, oh my.
We did Tomb of Annihilation.
Well, that was Saturday, yes, that was Saturday, that's true.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, we were going to talk about it anyway, I thought.
That's true, we are going to talk about it anyway. If you've played Castle Ravenloft, Shards of
Chardalon.
Yeah. Wrath of Chardalon, Legend of Dritz, any of those board game D&D games, which are basically like I would definitely call it 4th edition light, because it is still not quite 4th edition. But again, I feel
it's 4th edition rules in a board game.
Yeah, which work very well. I do agree that I think people you've said if this is what 4th edition, and I think no. I think 4th edition could have worked a lot better if it was supplemented with something like this kind of stuff,
4th edition was really designed to be a miniature game.
Yes, you needed a board for it.
And that's what. And this is why I said this is really this really works well with it, because it is kind of a miniature game.
Yeah, no, it's you need a board for 4th edition, and this was what 4th edition could be. But no, Tomb of Annihilation was fun. It's meant to be played very campaigny, like you're following the storyline of the Tomb of Annihilation adventure. I think to a little bit the one that they put out, and
I got it because I figured we're probably never going to get to do the Tomb of Annihilation adventure, and it's a way of doing it.
Yeah. Our off-stream gaming group has not had a chance to do a lot of role-play, because we're trying to convince, ancient cats that are, or dogs that don't learn new tricks to use Roll20. We do it. But others, maybe someday. We'll get back to it. I'll try.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, the likelihood of us actually doing that specific adventure path is probably low, so...
True. But anyway, so we started through that. There's a couple more games that you and our friend Blaze got that we will try out at some point in time. But we got to try that one. And we talked about Alicematic Heroes the other week. On Sundays at Tabletop, the 2 weeks we got to game a game of Secret Hitler. That was very fun. We definitely could have used a couple more people, but it was quite fun for what we did. Which you weren't just,
I was a liberal both times.
I think previous, I was a fascist both times. We switched off. You were, I think, fascist the last time we played all the time, and I was liberal. And now we switched off, so...
I was fine with that.
And then we got to play Citadels, but we played Citadels wrong. We played the Citadels wrong the entire time, which made us...
we figured it out, and it was we're already in the middle of it. It doesn't make sense to...
The way we played it was more brutal and mean because we were forced to assassinate people and forced to thief from people. When you're not forced to do that, it's so much better. Because then you're not murdering people. Like, you don't have to do it. Like, there were times that I didn't want to be the assassin and kill people. Like, the thief is always okay. Because it's if you fish your wish, you steal some money. But the thing is, since people are trying to spend money, it's just that there were a lot of times where I think people felt a little more salty for being assassinated off. But
like me in the first round.
Oh my god, that was awful. I was like, I feel bad for you. But we were playing it completely incorrect, and we probably wouldn't have had an assassin the first round.
Yeah.
So, I think that is the important thing about the entire thing, is, like, the nature of it. And we were doing it wrong. But we had a fun time. You know, it wasn't a bad game. I can't remember who won or something. It was you?
I was Blaze. It was Blaze. I was second.
Yeah, you were second. I was third.
I was close.
And also, we made a mistake when point adding up that Umber would have been really close too. He wasn't too bad behind, but he was a little behind us. But it was still, we had very close games between all of us, technically. So, but yeah, Blaze won. So, Citadels was fun. Role-playing wise, I had a session of Madness of the Land a couple weeks ago. That was a fun one. They finished up the lighthouse and are exploring a Garden of Bone. So that's an interesting one. And we had Legacies of Kain 2 weeks, which the previous week they finished up with a Semiche Elder who they learned was Dracula. Yes, I pulled a Dracula on them. Yep. It was one of those things Semiche's Elders. I need one. I could make up one myself, but they have a lot of pre-made ones which are a little easier to use, and I'm like, oh, Dracula's right in the range I like. What the hell? They don't really say what he's doing exactly in modern day. They meet Dracula. He's been hiding out because Sabat tried to assassinate him. And then he's got them on a mission that's taking them to Transylvania. And they're exploring one of the possible castles of Dracula. Actually, technically, they're exploring the actual castle where Dracula lived. And there's another one that's related to him, and they don't know which one to find, whatever they're looking for. And so they don't even know it's there. But it's like an investigation. And they've been in Transylvania and Romania. So it's been fun. And so I think I've taken things in a weird, interesting direction. I'm happy about it. So, anyway, I think that's pretty it. That's pretty it for our week in tabletop, isn't it?
Yes, I think that covers everything, really.
Cool. As for Ask the Table, our final segment, where you out there can ask us any questions, whether it's in chat right now, in the description of the YouTube video, or in any way of the social media to contact us, whether it's my Discord, messaging either Joe or I directly on Twitter, or just message me on the Twitter, either direct message or non-direct message, or, emailing us at discussingtabletop@yahoo.com, where you can actually also contact us and check out what is going on with us. Hey, all of those are viable ways of contacting us and letting us any kind of tabletop related question, or maybe just a nerdy question in general. We had a Star Trek tangent today. If you have a question about Star Trek you want to ask, knock yourself out. We have our tangents.
Yes.
It was a worthy one. Anyway. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Yes. See everyone tomorrow.
Yes, for Sundays at the Tabletop. Game to be determined, but I usually figure out how many players we have and then determine the game. So, I don't want to choose a 4-player game, and after I've asked enough players,
and then we find we get 6 people, and it's like,
well, that's the thing is, it's because I throw a wide net because because oftentimes it's up in the air whether certain people join or don't join. Anyway, but have yourselves great days, great rest of your Saturdays. I'll be back tomorrow for Sundays at the Tabletop, and probably streaming in the afternoon of some kind of game. I'm not 100% sure, because Sundays are always up in the air for me. But, you can always check out my Discord to know when things, or the Twitter, when things are going live here on Twitch. But, see you later, folks. See you next week, at least, with 2 of us.
Bye, everybody!